Yeah, back with Gary. You wanted to do another little video, didn't you, Gary?
I want to do another little video now. Listen, folks. I eat vegan myself, right?
As a choice.
As a choice, which I have done for a number of years. I've actually been vegetarian since the about 1983. Well, some of these people that are listening to this probably won't even been born, but I gave up dairy like a few years ago, quite a few years ago now. But there are a few fallacies concerned with veganism, which some people are not going to like what I'm saying here. But I just eat vegan. But
because you choose not to eat animal.
I choose not to eat animal, and I feel healthier for it. But if you speak to vegans, I actually eat vegan, like, but am I sort of like live my whole life 100% vegan? Probably not. Now I'll give you a little example. A good friend of mine, who's not a vegan by the way, I was in the sauna with him. A friend of mine, Charlie. I haven't seen him for over a year now with his blinking other thing that's going on. But he said, "You're vegan, gal, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said to me, "Do you wear plastic shoes?" And I said, "Well," "sometimes." He told me, I said, "No, mate." He said, you can't wear them." So I said, "Why is that?" Now, I'm going to say something here. Now, you lot know that a lot of these are fallacies as well. But if you go along with the mainstream narrative, I don't know if you know, but plastics come from the petrochemical industry. Now, where does the petrochemical industry come from? They come from sort of
They're
like...
telling us it's
dinosaurs, which we know
dinosaurs.
Which we know dinosaurs don't exist in our reality. But if you take the mainstream narrative, dinosaurs do exist. So if you see someone in your local shop going up and buying, say for argument's sake, packaged vegan food from the shelves and whatever, you turn around and say to me, "Excuse me, love, are you vegan?" Or, "Sir, are you vegan?" They say, "Yeah." So, "Well, do you eat vegan, or is your whole life vegan? You live it to the letter?" If they say, "Yeah," we say, "You can't eat that, sir." So, and then they turn around and say, "Why that?" So, "Well, do you know where plastic comes from?" I mean, I actually do have this food. I've actually eaten it here, down at Karen's, and I eat it back at home because I eat vegan and eat healthy vegan. But how far back do you really want to take this? Is veganism, as they're sort of like the mainstream try and sort of like produce it and tell us, is it kind of a psyop, folks? Because them people shouldn't be eating the vegan food out of plastic packaging. Now, I know you lot are going to be streaming now saying, "Yeah, but gal, it doesn't exist what you say." Yeah, but I'm going on the mainstream narrative where dinosaurs did exist, 60 million years ago or whatever. So, if dinosaurs died and then they went into the ground and it made the oil, and then that's sort of like extracted and then goes to a petrochemical company, which they extract, like from the crude oil they get petrol, kerosene, jet fuel. If jet fuel is actually used on aircraft, which I think very little does. I think they're free energy machines once they're flying, but that's for another day, folks. But you see where I'm coming from with this. And then I've spoke to some vegans that try and stick to it right to the letter, and they say, "Oh well, yeah, I only have like vegan clothes," But how do they know it is actually what they've been told anyway? Because there's so many lies that have been spun at us. Then I see other vegans going to charity shops buying things. They don't know where these articles have come from, and I just find it. I don't know. I find it very strange. Like vegans are a strange can be a strange bunch if they live it to the letter, which I don't. I eat vegan. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love animals. I love animals and not another. But I'm just wondering, like, what the true intentions is. Is it another psyop? I don't know. Because you see some of these people on TV that say they're vegans and they won't do this, they won't do that, they won't do the other. You almost can't do anything. I mean, so does that mean like that when they get in their car, like they now have to sort of like remove their plastic steering wheel? You see where I'm coming from with this? It's like, how far do you actually take it? Is my question, folks. It's like, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go saying you're a vegan? Because if you go back far enough on on anything at all, you're going to get to a situation where you can hardly do anything. And this is where I'm coming from with this now. A lot of you wouldn't have listened to someone doing a podcast like this if they'd have been a meat eater and said, oh, what do you know? But I can categorically guarantee you, I actually eat vegan to the best of my knowledge, and I'm very careful. I mean, Karen, what have I been like here eating? I've been a nightmare, really, haven't I?
Yes, you're a nightmare, Gary.
I'm an absolute nightmare. I talk too much. I've even given a little tip what to do. My mum used to say to me, I don't know if you remember, like Sesame Street, when you used to have Zippy.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah. I sometimes speak too much. I think it's Asperger's. It does tend to happen. You just run away with yourself, and sometimes you're talking riddles. So you have to bear with me. But no, back to this vegan question. So, if you do actually see anyone like in Tesco's or Sainsbury's or wherever else you go, and you've got talking to them, and you see them at the vegan counter, just point this fact out to them, because they're almost, unless they're.
How does it work though, Gary? One thing I thought was, you're killing plants. Where do you stop?
Exactly. I mean, I do it from a health basis, although I do love animals, and I can't eat animals. And to be honest with you, when I sort of like go past butchers and I sort of like smell that meat, it does sort of like turn me stomach. I'm very nearly sick often. But I'm just saying, like, with these is vegan a fad, folks? That's what I'm saying. Like a Primrose Hill crowd, like like Kate Moss and all that. Like, oh, we're all vegan, like, and all that. And then you see her like walking around like with clothes that sort of like all us lot couldn't afford in a lifetime, and that she don't know whether it's been produced and whether it's vegan friendly. So my question to you lot is, could veganism be a psyop? Could it be a psyop? Now I know some of you are sort of like biting your tongue down the phone. If I ever see that, Gary, like, I'll give him what for.
It's almost impossible to be.
Because it's almost, that's what I'm saying, it's almost impossible. How far back do you want to go? And my mate Charlie pointed this out to me. He said to me, the thing is, gal, if you want to go back far enough, what do you do? Even they say, well, I've got a vegan friendly perfume on one thing and another. I've got vegan friendly this, vegan friendly that. What is the truth in it? I'll give you another example. I was in my local branch of Aldi's or Aldi's. Some people call it Aldi's, some people call it Aldi's. About 2 months ago, and I would read the packet to see if it's vegan or not. And I picked up something that said it was vegan. Now, I done it, obviously, like that you don't have no meat or dairy produce, and I turned it around, and it said may contain, on the back in a little article, in a little sort of like subtitle, may contain like milk or buttermilk or something like that. So I called over the shelf filler, and I said, excuse me, mate, I said, you're gonna have to remove all these off of the shelf. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, you cannot serve this. So he said, why is that? And I turned it over and I showed him. I said, it almost may contain traces of milk. And he actually agreed with me. Rather than sort of like chewing my head off or whatever, he said, to be honest with you, mate, I think you're right. And I said, no, I'm right. I said, because if you get a very strict vegan coming here and they read that, there's going to be hell to pay for obvious reasons. They want to stick to it to the letter. But then again, do they check what the packaging comes in? Do they check, like, I don't know, what about if they go into somewhere like, because McDonald's now, you've got McDonald's and Burger King and people like that, they'll actually do like vegan meals now. And I must admit, I've had a vegan burger out of Burger King and it's not half bad. But a real strict vegan wouldn't dream of going in there for a simple reason. They're going to say, well, the guy's touched with his hand, he might have touched meat before, and now he's touching my vegan burger. Even though he's washed his hands, it's not good enough. So my point is it like my two mates, like Pete and Pete say?
It's 9 minutes now.
Okay, my mate Pete and Pete say, have these people got some kind of mental health issue for saying things like that? Because it's practically impossible to actually do it if you go back far enough. That's all. This is a very short video. I just wanted to sort of like get your feelings on what I said. And remember the one about the plastic packaging, because you can catch so-called vegans that live it to the letter out. If they turn around and say to you they just eat vegan, fine. But if they stick to the letter of the word, being veganism, you can turn around and say to them, no, you cannot eat that out of that plastic packaging if they believe in the mainstream.
How far do you, I mean...
And this is what I'm saying, is it a psyop?
I don't mean that horribly. I mean, as a meat eater, I've told you, I have a bit of meat since you're here, but
You've had loads of meat.
I don't anymore.
I must admit,
I need to get more work, and I've been struggling with money, so I've been living on other stuff,
Well,
but I'm
no.
quite a vegetarian.
No, Karen's been
You bought me
very.
a curry. What would I want? Something really mixed.
Karen's been very good. Like, you know, any time we've eaten, like, she's done, you know, vegan food for me, and I haven't sort of like looked over her shoulder in the kitchen and say, oh no, you can't use that knife because you've used it on that.
I haven't done any of that.
No, but even if you did, I wouldn't pick you up about it. But you'll
I
get.
haven't done any of that. It's easy. Like this morning, we had some rice that was left over.
Yeah.
So I fried it up, gave Gary's, and then I put an egg in it.
It was lovely.
And I had egg fried
Yeah,
rice.
exactly.
And I just had rice.
I just had rice. But I remember a story my friend told me. I was over in Tenerife, and he said to me how he had some people come round, and then they were vegans, like, and they had the vegan pasties, and him and his family, they come from Nottingham, really nice couple, I've seen it for years actually, and they had like ordinary pasties, and they had like the vegan pasties, and they got it mixed up, and like when they sat down for dinner, they were both eating away, and then I think his wife called him out and said, "Hey John, you better come here, like, I've got something to tell you." So we've given him a wrong pasty. Well, they half eaten it, and you'd have thought like hell have no fury, like sort of like people scorn, because all hell broke loose. All the stuff went up in the air on the table. Oh, I can't believe you invited us here for dinner, you give us meat. Oh, what are we going to do now? We've sort of like broken our vow being vegan, and you know, this is the kind of veganism I'm talking about. I mean, occasionally I've been to a party where I've accidentally had like an ordinary sausage roll as opposed to a vegan one. I just go, oh my god, you know, what have I done? like, what, that was a mistake. But you know, that's what I'm saying, is the true thing of veganism, is
well,
it?
I think probably it's like that because at least 75% of the country or the world is not vegan.
Exactly, but I'm just wondering, like, whether like, you know, people that stick to it to the letter, because what you got to remember, folks, anyone that calls, I'm a vegan eater, but I don't consider myself a vegan as regards to like living that right across the board. I don't go into charity shops and then say, oh, I'm not going to get that because I don't know like who's touched it or where it's come from and all that, because I mean, I buy my stuff out of charity shops. I won't blinking wear anything. You know, I mean, I can't afford to go in like all these other shops. My point is, we're going too far, aren't we? Sorry,
he likes to talk.
Listen, I like to talk, and I know sort of like a lot of you will be glad to see the back of me when I sort of like go home in a couple of days' time. But I've had a wonderful time down here, and Karen sport me rotten. And
and now the phone's ringing.
My other phone's ringing, so that's all right. She can wait. She can wait. I'll turn it down. Hold on. I'll turn it down. Yeah. So anyway, folks. My point is, you know, what's your feelings about what I've been saying to you, and do you see where I'm coming from? And this is coming from.
You know, the meat eaters aren't going to write nice things back.
No, they're not. Now the thing is, I've got nothing against people eating meat. I mean, Karen eats meat in front of me. Now, you know, some strict vegans that stick to it to the letter wouldn't dream of doing that. I don't sort of like impose my principles upon anybody at any time at all, because that wouldn't be fair. You know, so all I'm saying is, you know, from someone that actually eats vegan, can you possibly in this world be a vegan in all honesty and say you stick to it to the letter? Because I've seen articles in the newspaper where, you know, people will turn around and said, oh, this has happened, that's happened. Like I said, what are you going to do next? Are you going to sort of like take your steering wheel off and get a non-plastic steering wheel? Because you're not allowed to have a plastic steering wheel, because that's made out of deceased dinosaurs.
Most of them are leather. Most of them are leather, which is even worse, Gary.
Even worse, isn't it?
Anyway, we're going to finish now. That's just what Gary wanted to say, to bring that up into people's thoughts. Anyway, big hugs, lots of love.